best friend Maura messages me on GChat. Hey Diane, do you want to write some lesbian erotica? And whenever Maura messages me, I always read things in her voice. So it came out more like, hey Diane, do you want to write some lesbian erotica? Maura never sounds excited about anything. And she also, at least to me, kind of always reminds me of one of the fashion club girls from Daria. To me, that's how she talks. And of course I respond, I definitely want to write some lesbian erotica. Tell me more about that. And Maura tells me that it's for a book called Best Lesbian Love Stories 2009, and my compensation would be a $50 check and 2 free copies of the book. And I said, I'll go for it. Kind of in a similar way that you would say, like on Jeopardy, like, I'll take Best Lesbian Love Stories 2009 for 50, Alex. And that summer, I was 21 years old, and I was interning at the Mackinac Island Town Crier in Mackinac Island, Michigan. Mackinac Island, if you don't know, or if you're a Detroit hater, Mackinac Island is one of Michigan's most famous tourist vacation spots. And the Town Crier is a place that publishes newspaper weekly in the summer and bi-monthly in the winter. And Maura was also an intern, and she's working in New York City for a publishing house that did LGBT literature, but mostly it was lots and lots of gay and lesbian erotica. And while I did things like write articles about fudge and horse shit, which are the 2 things that Mackinac Island is most famous for, Maura got to do things like write the back cover text for a book called Frat Sex 2. Get ready to penetrate the frat house. Frat boys have always been the guys you've fantasized about. Just what exactly goes on in a fraternity house after hours? What really gets spanked on initiation night? Well, you're about to find out, because you're going to bed with all their secrets. So after my shift at the Town Crier is over, I sit in the Town Crier newsroom by myself, just me and the statue of the Mackinac Island Town Crier. He watches over me while I write my first piece of lesbian erotica. And to begin, I asked myself a couple of questions. Question number 1, what theme should my lesbian erotica be? I believe that themes are very important for everything in life. And my next question was, how much time do I have to really build a world and develop these characters? Because I want people to feel like they're having an experience. And my third question was, how many synonyms can I think of for the word wet? Damp, soggy, sodden, soaked, moist. I was on the right track. So I based my Best Lesbian Love Story 2009 off the most popular movie of summer 2008, which was, at least for me, The Dark Knight. So my theme was lesbian Batman. Would you like to hear how lesbian Batman describes herself in this story? I gotta get into the Batman pose first. I am one of them. In the night, I protect. I save girls like you and men who don't know the difference between a prostitute and a pickpocket. I carry their weight as well as my own. Back to me. So, I decided in this story that lesbian Batman rescues a civilian woman from being mugged in a parking garage, and later that night, she comes to the woman's apartment, and they have an intimate encounter. And Dave said he wanted to be aroused, so should I continue? I felt the silken folds of my nightgown slip down my body until they reached the floor. I knew she was smiling again, as I heard her tell me not to move. Fully naked, I lay out before her. It was so deliciously wicked. I felt irresistible, despite my messy hair and swollen lips. Slowly, so painfully and wonderfully slow, 2 fingers caressed the outside of those lips. I felt full and pink and lush and ripe. She slipped inside me easily. I was so wet. I felt the first buckle of my climax when she leaned down and took one long lick from front to back. And then lesbian Batman disappears into the night. Thank you, one person. So I submit, thank you. So I submit my story to Maura, and she's also like, thank you. And 6 months later, in January 2009, I get a package from the publishing house, and it's my $50 check and 2 free copies of Best Lesbian Love Stories 2009. And I open it up, and I'm so excited, flipping through, and I see my story title, Breathless. And I read through it, and it's everything that I remembered it to be. And then I look at the other works of my fellow authors in this book. And I notice that I'm between a piece called Jamie's Journey and a piece called A Promise to Rub Her Fur Off. It's a little on the nose for me. And none of the other pieces have themes. The closest one gets to that is a piece called Tight Sweater, where the entire plot is that a neighbor finds there's a woman who's got a sweater stuck over her head and fondles her breasts. And the more that I read, the more that I feel like I may have missed the memo on this one. I thought this was Best Lesbian Love Stories, not Best Lesbian Sex Stories. And I feel like I misunderstood the assignment. I didn't really go for it the way I could. And I tell Maura that, and she's just like, I can hear her shrug, kind of like, And I'm embarrassed, and I just put it away, and I can't even look at it anymore, and I just feel like I've failed. And most importantly, though, I feel very exposed, because I feel like if you were to ask a stranger to pick one of these stories and say, which one of these was written by a straight 21-year-old virgin, they would say, that one, mine, and they would be right. And I guess I still was a virgin because I couldn't really separate the concepts of sex from the concept of love. And because I was probably still saving myself for Batman. But, I'm 28 now, and not much has changed, and I still don't really know the difference between sex and love. But I haven't written any other lesbian erotica, but I do believe that everyone deserves, whether they're gay, straight, or Batman, to have someone who makes them feel full and pink and lush and ripe. And I believe that person for me is out there somewhere in the night. Thank you so much.